today I'm reviewing the Neutrogena Invisible Daily Defense Face Serum. And really quick, I just want to say I purchase these products with my own money. I'll never waste your time with sponsored ads or videos, so if you want to help support the channel, check out nobsbeauty.com, check out my Patreon community, or click on the link below. Okay, and I've got another Beanie Baby for Cassie, and she is from Texas, which made me think of Dirt Devils. I'm not sure why, but I just assume there's Dirt Devils down there. But anyway, so this is hers. I've been able to protect this from Ike because Ike keeps coming down and staring at them. And one time I even came down and found a few of them on the ground. So I'm going to have to put them under lock and key, I think. We have to reorganize them. Anyway, because one of them's down here. Because Ike messed them all up. He just is obsessed with them. Anyway. Okay, so this actually just came to Ulta recently. I picked it up on Neutrogena's website when it came out because I always keep hearing these good things about Neutrogena sunscreens, and they have a lot of good options. I guess the biggest problem with it is that they're kind of bound to U.S. regulations and what they use in sunscreens made and sold in the U.S., so it's not really their fault, but anyway, so I'll get to more of that in a minute. So I call this an oil-free facial serum from the #1 dermatologist recommended sun care brand, which I think that's all marketing. I don't necessarily disagree. That might not be their #1 recommended, but they don't have to prove it to anybody. So, I mean, they could not be recommended by one dermatologist, and that's just marketing anyway. So, this protects against the sun and environmental aggressors while helping even skin tone and boosting moisture. We'll talk more about that. This hydrating serum with SPF 60+ helps prevent sunburn with broad spectrum UVA and UVB protection. Broad spectrum really doesn't mean much in the US. If you have one UVA filter, you can basically call it broad spectrum. And it doesn't really mean as much. What means more is like European brands, they have to, their UVA protection has to be like 1/3 of their stated SPF, or Korean and Asian beauty brands need the PA+++ system. Broad spectrum basically means it will cover some UVA rays. It doesn't mean much, in my opinion. Which again is not Neutrogena's fault. So it fights against skin aging due to UV exposure such as wrinkles, dark spots, fine lines, and sagging. Lightweight and gentle, the skin hydrating serum is infused with ginger extract to improve skin radiance and an antioxidant complex to fight environmental factors like cold, ozone, and pollution. This non-greasy serum goes on clear on all skin tones. It is oxybenzone, paraben oil, and mineral oil free, ideal for use during outdoor activities. This sun care serum is water and sweat resistance for up to 80 minutes. I have a lot to say about everything. Okay, so my first criteria is packaging, and I like the packaging for this. Really nice little bottle with a nice pump on it. No issues at all with that. So that's very easy. In terms of denatured or drying types of alcohol, I think my main issue with this sunscreen is that denatured alcohol is the 4th ingredient. And, you know, with some sunscreens like the La Roche-Posay Shaka sunscreen, I can forgive it because it does provide such good protection, and I can apply it over other hydrating things to kind of lessen the impact of the drying alcohol. But typically, especially with chemical filter sunscreens, it just increases the likelihood that there's a potential irritation from the chemicals or from the denatured alcohol, especially when you combine with mineral filters. So keep that in mind. It's not the end-all be-all because there are some great sunscreens with it in there. But keep that one in mind. And then we get to fragrance, and this has the strong, what I consider like the chemical sunscreen scent. It just reminds me of being young, like 10 years old, and going to like the Crystal Pool from where I used to grow up. It just smells like that, just that strong chemical sunscreen scent. However, it also has a fragrance ingredient which I don't notice the scent for at all because the chemical scent is so strong, and that is menthol lactate. It's a combination of menthol and lactic acid, and it's an ingredient that can be sensitizing for skin, especially when you combine that with the chemical sunscreen filters and the denatured alcohol, it just increases the likelihood that your skin will be irritated from this, especially with daily use and reapplication multiple times a day, especially if you have even slightly sensitive skin. So I do have an issue with that because that doesn't really need to be in there. Okay, the manufacturing location for this one is the US, so no issues with that. In terms of SPF, this gives SPF 60, and SPF relates to the UVB ray protection. UVB rays are the ones that tan you or burn you. Then we get to the UVA protection factor. This one is considered broad spectrum, which in the US is all they can do. There's nothing else they can do. With the filters they use, I'm not totally convinced this gives really great UVA protection, but we don't really know because it just says broad spectrum and they really don't have to tell you anything else. And most brands won't tell you anything else. So I'm not convinced that this can even compete with some of the other European brands. But again, that's not really Neutrogena's fault at all. They're just making a sunscreen to be sold in the US, and they're bound by the US FDA. And since the act of Congress won't even make the FDA approve new filters, I don't think in my lifetime we'll ever see a new filter here. So if we want really strong UVA coverage, we're going to have to buy things and smuggle them in. Or they can sell it as like an antioxidant fluid, which is what Crave Beauty does. Instead of selling their sunscreen as a sunscreen, they sell it as an antioxidant fluid, which is still ridiculous that they have to do that. But anyway, so because of the UVA coverage issue, I don't prefer to use this one when I'm outside a lot. I more prefer to use this on cloudy days when I'm not in the sun or the sun's not super strong, or days when I'm just in and out. So, okay, so let's see. Hang on one second. I have my pages out of order. Okay, so for the filters used in this one, we've got Avobenzone, which is a UVA ray absorber. Very famous. It's special in the fact that it's the only globally available chemical sunscreen agent that provides UVA protection. And again, like I mentioned before, the FDA hasn't approved really any new filters in like decades, so it's about all Neutrogena really can use. It provides good protection across the entire UVA range. The problem with Avobenzone is that it's not stable, and then some studies have shown that Avobenzone loses 36% of its UV absorption capacity within just 1 hour in the sunlight. So it's not very stable. The only way to really make it more stable is to combine it with other chemical filters, like Octocrylene, Tinsorb S, and that helps it last longer and be more stable. So anyway, okay, then we've got Homosalate, which is an oil-soluble chemical sunscreen agent that protects the skin from UVB rays. It's not a strong UV filter in and of itself, and not super photostable, so that's why whenever you see that Homosalate in a chemical sunscreen, you always see other filters because it does not do well on itself. But when you combine it with Avobenzone, they both perform better. Then we've got Octisalate, which is a UVB ray absorber. It's colorless to light yellowish, and it works as a UVB filter with a peak absorption at 306 nanometers. NM. I assume that's nanometers. I could be wrong, but it's a strong filter in and of itself, and it's also used to enhance other filters as well. They all work well together. And then we've got Octocrylene, which is another oil-soluble chemical sunscreen agent that protects the UVB range and a little bit of the UVA range. It's not super strong in and of itself. Again, it works better with other chemical filters. And Octocrylene is one that some people can be allergic to. So I recommend patch testing any sunscreen before you use it on your face. In terms of white cast, so it is invisible. Once you smooth it into skin, it is totally invisible. You could not tell it is on at all. So that makes it a great option for those with deeper skin tones. In terms of the texture, it's got a nice lotiony texture to it, kind of a lotiony serum type texture. It absorbs pretty quickly and sets to a natural finish, which isn't sticky at all. So very nice for that reason. So no issues at all with that. Okay. So ease of use, it smooths over skin quite easily. It works well under makeup, it does a good job under foundation because it doesn't feel greasy or oily at all, which is nice, and it doesn't hamper the length of foundation wear. Then we get to antioxidants. And despite the fact that they mention their antioxidant complex, I don't see a very impressive list for beneficial ingredients. We've got a few. We've got ginger root extract. Ginger root extract is good. Ginger oil is not, but the extract is a good skin soothing and antioxidant. Then we've got vitamin E, very good for hydrating skin as well as functioning as an antioxidant. Then we've got feverfew extract, another good antioxidant. So we've got 3. So it's not super impressive. And in my opinion, it's not enough to negate some of the negative factors, such as the methyl lactate, the denatured alcohol, in combination with the chemical filters. So I wasn't too impressed with it. They could have added maybe a couple more, and I would have been a little bit more excited about it. But just to see 3, and especially where they fall on the ingredient list, there's not a lot of them in the product. A little disappointing. Especially from America's #1 dermatologist recommended sunscreen brand. I'm going to try more from them, I promise, because this one wasn't the most impressive. Although when they released this, they came out with 2 other options, so maybe those are a little bit better. I'll have to check them out. I was attracted to the serum-like finish that they mentioned, so. Okay, in terms of acneogenic ingredients, we don't have a ton. We've got Dimethicone, Glyceryl Stearate, which is also a fungal acne trigger. And then we've got red number 40, which is actually the most acneogenic out of all 3 of those. Which is disappointing because red number 40 didn't need to be in this at all. I mean, I guess it gives it that yellow color. I mean, do we care if it's yellow or not? I don't know. Maybe some people do. Okay. Then in terms of animal testing, this just goes downhill. They're not cruelty-free, and they are sold in mainland China, so. In terms of performance, so it lasts pretty nicely throughout the day. Reapplication is pretty easy if you're not wearing makeup. Can be slightly hydrating, so this is probably more geared towards drier skin, but it's not super greasy either, and reapplication of this one is nice and very easy to do, and it works well under foundation, so performance is fine. Price is also decent, 1.7 ounces for $18 makes it pretty affordable. And then let me quick add up the total. 1, 2, 3, sorry, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 9 out of 15. Which is not very impressive. Especially when I've reviewed some sunscreens that are 15 out of 15. But in general, I think it's very important to analyze the sunscreens you use because some labs have really been doing some independent research on some of these sunscreens and have really showed them to be not nearly as effective or protective as some of the brands say they are. There's a Dr. Jart Cicapair study done on their SPF 30 and showed it to be an SPF 10, really, from the lab. I don't know how they can not do that and not get in trouble. So it's really good to analyze it on a regular basis and see if you're doing the best thing for your skin. Obviously, the best sunscreen is the one you're going to use every single day. So anyway, and Neutrogena, really, some of that's not their fault because they're really bound by the U.S. regulations, which are ridiculous. So anyway, if I ever get elected president, sunscreen is going to be my #1 priority. I'm running on the platform of sunscreen regulations. That is my platform. I'll announce my candidacy later. Okay. Anyway, I'm interested in hearing from you guys if you have tried this and like it, or if you have a favorite sunscreen from Neutrogena. What is it? And should I try it? I haven't tried many other sunscreens from them, so leave a comment. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you more tomorrow.